Florida Focus, a college football podcast. We have a Seminole and a Gator together, trying to put aside their differences and bring you the fantastic world of college football. Thank you for joining us on this ride of hype, hope, and hilarity. My name's Brandon. I am joined by Chris. Today, we want to remind you of our Patreon account, how you can become a subscriber. We are going to recap the entire 2018 season for the Florida Gators and the entire 2018 season for the Florida State Seminoles. We will also take a quick look around the state at the other schools, and we want to remind our listeners that the format for our shows will be slightly different going forward. However, Chris and I will alternate on giving opinions for this one episode week by week. So, after the end of the episode, we're going to remind the fans to give their list of what you think the win-loss record is in each game preview. But all in all, Chris, how are you feeling about today's show, my friend?
I have been looking forward to this one for a long time. I'm really excited, and it's officially game week, and something I haven't said in too long. And I know I could probably speak for you too. After the debacle that was last season, it is so good to just put that behind us and look forward and have a little bit of, at least a couple games, have some hope.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited about this. Man, last year was just a weird year. So weird for both of our teams. With Florida,
right
before the season starts, you have a bunch of suspensions. You have their leading returning running back, receiver, and who was our returner as well, don't play for the whole year. You kind of get some lucky at some games, and then just the wheels fell off, and I felt like some of the games towards the end we quit. But the good news is that it's behind us. We have a new coach, new system, new life, and I know that Florida State can say a lot of the same stuff, and we're looking forward to breaking down the games this year.
Man, that was perfect. You said everything right there I wanted to say.
That was good.
It was excellent. That was a little better than our standard. Just hey, let's get this going. No,
yeah,
we both can feel it right now. I'm so excited. I shaved.
I just practiced my speech. You shaved, so that's the way It's usually the other way around. If anyone's going to just do something crazy like shaving, it's going to be me. If anyone's going to practice a speech, it's you. But I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Real quickly before we get started, patreon.com/Florida Focus Podcast. We have 2 tiers for people that want to subscribe to the show. You can be a VIP, which is $1 a month, or you can be the Diamond, which is $5 a month. VIP gets you access to our exclusive Facebook page and our eternal thanks. Diamond, which is $5 a month, gets you a welcome package, gets you that exclusive Facebook page, plus you get some other benefits as well, such as secret episodes throughout the year. So patreon.com/Florida Focus Podcast. I'll be sure to leave that in the show notes as well so people can easily reference that because people might be driving or whatever. So, yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to delay any longer. Let's get this started, Chris.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah, we're going to alternate week 1. So I'm going to throw it to Chris first to talk about his week 1 matchup, and then I'll respond with mine. So go right ahead, sir.
All right. We kick off the season with Charleston Southern at home. It is a night game, 7:30. Just a couple of notes about them. Dan Mullen coached against them the first game last year at Mississippi State. So he coaches them again first game of this year. And also when he was with us, I believe he was still with us in 2009, we played them first game of the season too. So a little bit of history with our team and our coach with them. But we're just looking forward to getting this season going. It's going to be a lot of anticipation, a lot of pressure, and I think you can just, whenever we get that first touchdown, you'll hear the whole Gator Nation just collective sigh. Just so get ready for that. Get ready for that. If you hear shortly after 7:30, hopefully shortly after 7:30, this, that's Gator Nation. Just saying, hey, we're going to be okay, at least this game,
Gotcha. Understandable. That's kind of cool, though. There's a little history there with the Charleston Southern Pirates? Buccaneers?
They had some kind of sword on their helmet, so we'll go with
Yeah.
that.
I don't think it matters. Most schools kind of know what they're getting into with something like this.
Yeah.
So excellent. Yeah, it's a night game. That one kind of surprises me. Sometimes they like to throw that maybe
Well,
3:30.
recently, as of like 5 years ago or something, they've been trying to do more night games in September
Mm,
because of just the heat. Just with too many issues with fans and heat stroke and all that stuff.
sure.
So they've been trying to push it to the evenings.
Okay, that makes sense. That's kind of what I was thinking that the reason was. So,
Yeah.
okay, so right out of the gate, Gators would probably get a pretty easy win, and you get to see a little bit of exciting offense too.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, our first game will not be so easy.
Yeah.
We are opening up Labor Day night, 8 o'clock, under the lights at Doak Campbell Stadium, a home game against the Virginia Tech Hokies. So, just a really quick note about the ACC last year. We went 4-6 in bowl games, and the jokes abound with what does ACC stand for? Is anyone challenging Clemson? Is it another Clemson championship? And I don't mind those. Just get a little more creative with them. I'm kind of tired of the same ones over and over. So, the question...
I'm hearing that from a Florida State fan. It's really funny to me. I'm sorry. Because I remember the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of 2000s. I just think it's funny that that's where you are at.
Yeah, well, it's been 3 in a row, and
Yeah.
it's the reason I bring that up now is because the ACC has a tendency to do this, where we're going to start the conference matchups right away, and SEC fans don't have to worry about this kind of stuff because everybody else just kind of tailors around your schedule, which is understandable. We got to be a little gimmicky with ours, so hence the Labor Day night games. And we're going to be playing those. Thank God it's at home because it's going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
In our other episode, we talked about the top 5 important games. I ranked this one at number 5, and I'm still going to stick with that. Some of the things we're going to need to really be aware of as Florida State fans. The strings for Virginia Tech are definitely their defensive line, their returning quarterback, and then their secondary. The secondary took a little bit of a hit because they had some suspensions, and that's a little bit of an area of concern. But I'm thinking Virginia Tech, depending on where they get lucky, where their schedule falls, where they handle injuries, they're going to be between a 7 and 9 win team.
Okay.
75% of their roster is underclassmen, so sophomore or younger. So they're young, and they're in the coastal, so they get the benefit of a better schedule, which you're going to see with some other teams that we play as well. The schedule for Virginia Tech after this game gets pretty easy. So they're going to win their next 3, maybe 4 games. And Florida State will have to be aware that this team may be a little bit hyped coming into this because they know the next few weeks are going to be a little easy, and they want to bring it all.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff is going to be coming from last year, but Virginia Tech tends to get really good starting field position. And I'm sure that stems from the defense that they have with Bud Foster. That's always been the emphasis. Quote, Beamer ball hasn't really died. And a couple other things. The run game is not fantastic. They probably got less than 4 yards a carry last year. So we're going to have to get the quarterback to really control the tempo of this game. Their offense is about middle of the road in the conference on most categories. Their defense is almost at the top. So it's going to be a matchup of Florida State's new offense versus their defense for sure.
Right.
I think with our defensive line, we have a little bit of an advantage here. They have a better punter. Again, that would make sense with field position. But I feel like the edge goes to us on special teams with the kicker and the returner. So all that kind of factors in. Virginia Tech, I couldn't believe the stat when I pulled this up. If you're talking about them in regular season, neutral site games, or on Labor Day, Virginia Tech is 1-9 all time.
Really?
Yeah, they don't play so well away from home with these kind of weird matchups.
Right.
Florida State has struggled in the early season, but it's almost always with Miami.
Right.
2004, we lose 17-10 on the road. 2005, we win 10-7 at home. 2006, we win 13-10 on the road. 2009, you remember this one pretty well. Florida State drops a game to Miami at home, 38-34. We won't have the benefit of these kind of Vegas numbers for the other matchups, but right now Florida State is a 7-point favorite. That's as of with this recording. And the over-under is 57. That number continues to go higher and higher. So they're thinking there's going to be a lot of points here. Home, big atmosphere. Peter Warwick's jersey is going to be retired. Bowden and Beamer are honorary captains. I'm taking the Noles to win, 37-31. This is a toss-up game for me. I think it could go either way, but I'm going to take Florida State.
Okay, so you think with a new system and starting early, they're still going to score a lot of points? Both teams are?
Yes.
Because traditionally Florida State hasn't, but you think it's going to be different
the one
this time.
exception of the 2009 game, which there seemed to have been no defense at all.
Right.
It's with their secondary having some depletion, it's going to be a lot of running. So that would be my only concern with it not getting so high. But I think the defenses just aren't going to be there this point in the season. So I still going to put it high scoring. And so, if you're betting, take the over on this one for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Because I would have figured it'd be a lower, ugly game, but everyone else is saying it's not. So okay, good. All right. So let's start off with week 2.
Yes, sir.
And then that is our first SEC game, and it seems like they're getting earlier and earlier. Usually you'd have like the third game of the season was Tennessee, and then Kentucky was like later in the season, and then Kentucky's been slowly creeping up, and now we play them week 2 in the Swamp. Another night game. Interesting to see how we're going to do with an SEC game this early. We have that long streak going against them, and I think this is one of the games that's going to be closer than it should be, just because they're still a pretty decent team. But I think Florida wins this game. I have them 31-20. It's going to be closer than it should be. But I just think that Kentucky really didn't do anything in the offseason to better themselves. They kind of just were stagnant. They didn't really do anything to hurt themselves, but nothing to really improve. So I think we're gonna win that one, but it might be a little closer than I want it to be.
Okay, I like that. The streak. The joke is here. When's the last time Kentucky beat Florida? Some of us weren't even born, and could you even find a highlight reel that was even on VHS? That those didn't exist.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I will say congratulations to the Gators. This is the longest current streak of beating the team that you play every year, and that's impressive and not easy to do. You and I have discussed in the past how, maybe close to 10 of those years, you're like, we weren't even the better team that game.
Right, including last year.
Yeah.
That might have been one of our luckier times. There's 3 plays in that game where Kentucky just handed us points or stop themselves from scoring. We scored 2 touchdowns where they did not line up on our receiver. They had nobody line up on our receiver, and we scored twice. I mean, it's rare for that to happen once in a game, but twice in a game.
Yeah. And
then the very end, they were running to get field position for a field goal to win the game, and had this long run up the middle, 20 yards. I don't know. They're at the 20. They got called for holding and had to go back, and they missed the field goal to win. And, that one was there's plenty of those games where, by all means, Kentucky should have won. But we didn't. But they didn't.
Alas, they did not.
Yeah. They always find a way to snatch, what is it?
Snatch defeat from victory?
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's
because normally you would say people go snatch victory from defeat. They just go the other way around.
Yeah. I know the words, but what's the order? Thank you for saving me.
No problem.
Swinging it, swooping in there to save me. Appreciate it. But you get it. Yeah, there's plenty of times they should have won, and I think this will be close because they always play us tough. Well, actually, either it's a close game or we blow them out by 50.
No.
but I think this is going to be a closer game. I say we win by 10, 11 points.
Okay. You said 31-20. That's not bad. I have the Gators winning that one as well. I don't really see any need for concern. And until Kentucky can get over that hump, I'm going to continue to pick Florida to win that one. So, all right. So that was your week 2 game. Well, week 2, we got a little reprieve. We played Samford, and this is a college in Birmingham, Alabama. Interesting you were talking about history with Charleston Southern, because Samford was where Bobby Bowden went to school.
Oh, okay.
And Samford was the team Jimbo played for his first coaching game in 2010.
Whoa.
So we've played them quite a few times. The only thing I would say here, beware of the 5-day turnaround. We've got Labor Day, and then we've got these guys Saturday evening.
Right.
So let's just be careful. The reason that, for the fans, that Chris and I know about the 2009 Florida State Miami games, because we were both there together.
Yeah.
Kind of a Chris's bucket list type of game.
Yeah.
So that was it was a thriller for sure. But then 5 days later, Florida State plays Jacksonville State. By the way, it's not Jacksonville, Florida. It's Jacksonville, Alabama.
Yeah.
And we nearly lost that game. And by nearly lost, I mean we're trailing 9-7 with 2 minutes to go.
Fun game.
I guarantee you it was not. It was not fun. Now we scored, and then like on this weird like last play of the game we scored again. So the weird final was like 22-9 or something.
Gotcha.
But still, not careful. Do you remember the name Ryan Perilou?
Yes.
I do. He was the quarterback for Jacksonville State that game, but he had transferred from none other than LSU.
Okay. That's why I know that name.
Other than that, there's really nothing much to note about this game. We're gonna have some third stringers get some experience. I'll take us to win 47-7.
Okay.
So
good.
Yep, there we go. All right, so week 3, things are heating up already. Go ahead with the Gators week 3.
All right, we get a little bit of a break. We host Colorado State, and I thought that this might be an interesting game, but then I saw them play,
Oh yeah.
and they got kind of upset at home. And then maybe it's just the first week, whatever. But interested to see this game. This will probably be the only game. I might be at more, but I'm definitely going to this game.
Okay.
Since I live pretty far away, we usually have to pick and choose which games. But I'm going to this game, so I'm really excited about this one, to be back in the swamp. But it's going to be an interesting game to see how we go from being hyped from the first game, then hyped from the first SEC game, and now back to, for lack of a better term, a normal game.
Okay.
I just want to see where we're at there. Very curious to see where our quarterbacks will be. And they say that Franks is going to be starting this season, at least starting the first game. Curious to see how he's doing at this point, if he's still the guy at this point. And it's a really good a warm-up game for Week 4's opponent.
Okay. All right. So, fair to say that was a pretty easy win. I think what you were saying, the benchmark there is the quarterback situation. So
yeah. That's what you'll really see if we are not just a quarterback, but as a team and an offense getting it. Are we clicking? Are we improving at that point? Okay. I say we win 38-17.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Interesting week 3. The non-conference. I always like to look at the SEC teams that go out and challenge themselves and where they look at, and sometimes there's these agreements are made a lot further out than you would remember.
Right.
So, but either way, I don't feel like you need to challenge yourself in the SEC. You get that week to week.
Yeah.
So, all right, Colorado State, the Rams.
Yep.
So week 3, Florida State gets the Syracuse Orangemen, and historically we've just had no trouble with this team. Even before they joined the ACC, it's been fairly much in our favor. Clemson last year did lose to Syracuse, so there is some upset potential here.
Okay.
Or as the new coaching staff at Syracuse would say, orange is the new fast.
Oh, gosh.
They will push the tempo with their offense. There's that. They do have a decent offensive line and a good quarterback. Eric Dungey might be one of the best in the conference, actually. But they're going to struggle with a lot of other things, like their running game, like their defense. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their top 2 wide receivers and a linebacker. So there's a lot of room for them to grow. Something I really saw that just staggered me. You see some drop-off in numbers between, like, home games and away games, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe your quarterback performance, whatever. Dungey's is 11% worse on the road.
Okay.
But this is in Syracuse, so he's 11% better at home. That's the way they're going to look at it.
Okay.
So also in their favor, they beat Clemson last year, but Clemson did lose Kelly Bryant for most of that game.
Right, so they knocked their quarterback out. Yeah.
So you have to take that with that caveat. They did have close games against LSU and Miami. I know most people did with the Hurricanes, but they nearly upset them and then nearly beat the Tigers. So they're teetering on, like, maybe one of the worst teams in the Atlantic, and they may finish last in the conference depending on how it shakes out.
Right.
But to see their coach, I think it's Dino Babers. He's 11-29 so far his last 7 years. It's a rough go for the Orange there. So because of that, the too many gaps in third down defense, the way they finish drives, they're slightly better than average on stuff. I'm going to take the Noles here to win pretty comfortably. I'll say 37-27. I'd like that to be a bigger gap, but I have to get my defense to prove to me they're not going to give up a lot of big plays, and Syracuse can typically do that. So I'll take the Noles by 10.
Okay, well, hopefully at this point, with practice, that the Noles will be used to a fast-paced offense because they have to go against their own in practice.
Yeah, I would hope so, but it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah.
But yes, sure. I agree. That's the goal by this point in the year.
Gotcha.
All right, so shaping up to be really good so far. I think we have both of our teams undefeated at this point, so that's good.
Yeah. Yep.
Week 4, let's see how that changes, if it does.
Okay. This is the first true test for us, I believe. This is my number 2 important game, and this is our first road game. That is at Tennessee. We have a handful of games that could go either way, coin flip game, and this is definitely one of those. They're just like us, new coach, new system. They had a rough season last year, went 4-8, and the whole coaching search for theirs is a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
Revolving door of sorts. But I think right now we're a better team, better program, but it's at Tennessee, and a rivalry game on the road. It could go either way, but I think we squeak it out and win 24-20, something like that. I think it's going to be our defense stopping them in the last drive to secure the win. But I'm really excited about that game. A little nervous, not gonna lie, but I think right now our program is just a little bit better.
Okay. I like it. I also have the Gators winning this one, mostly because of the history of it. I think they took one a couple years back, but generally the Gators have just really not struggled with Tennessee. I understand your concern of being on the road, and if it holds true that most of the time home field advantage is about 4 points, then the Gators are neutral side, probably a touchdown better than the Vols.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right. I think we're on the same page, 3 to 4 point game.
Yeah, and traditionally with this game specifically, whoever wins the running battle, wins 80-90% of the time, some ridiculously high number. And I really like our running backs.
Okay.
So I know their coach is a defensive-minded coach, but I like our running backs, so I think that's going to give us the edge.
Right. And I feel like Tennessee has a little bit more progress to gain with maybe the gap in the first-year coach than Florida. And maybe that's just me speaking from what I've seen.
Right.
So I think Florida's got to step up on the transition.
Yeah. Me too.
Okay. All right, so the 4-0 Gators are rolling on. Week 4, Florida State host Northern Illinois, the Fighting Huskies, I believe.
Have you had a road game at this point?
We were at Syracuse last week, on week 3.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Playing in the Dome.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
So back at home. Okay.
Yep. So Northern Illinois. The only thing that's interesting about this game is it is a rematch of the 2012 Orange Bowl.
That's right.
So I don't see any struggle here either. You know, the last 5 seasons, the only highlight for Northern Illinois is they beat Nebraska last year, and Nebraska was terrible, and Nebraska held them to 213 yards of offense. So if that's your program's biggest win,
Right.
I'm not going to get excited about this.
Right.
Florida State, we're 22-1 when we host non-conference games. The only loss was in 2011. We lost to Oklahoma, who was number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never lost to a MAC team. So I'm sure they're going to be good in their division. They'll probably even win it. They return 14 starters. They're 7-8 wins in a the Holiday Bowl or Dollar General Bowl, something like that for them. So
let's just change it to $1 a day.
$1 a day bowl.
This is combining dollar day bowl. How about that?
But I think we win here pretty comfortably. I don't know. Again, with the defense, I'm a little worried here. So I'm going to say we win 31-20. Although I'd prefer that to be like a 18-point win. Maybe we give up a late touchdown. So take us by 11.
Okay. Do you think it's going to be that close?
Man, we may score a little more.
I don't think it's going to be that close.
Maybe 41-20? Does that sound better?
Yeah.
38?
Yeah, that's
somewhere
a
there?
little more.
Okay. Maybe a 14, 18-point win.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, it'll be clicking. Yeah, you'll be all right.
You'll see a trend here. I start to be a little more cautious with my picks, so you'll be there to balance me out, I'm sure, on these.
Well, we've talked about this off air. I always do this, and I'm trying not to do it this year, is I always, like, when the schedule comes out, I look down the schedule and say, we're going to win this amount and lose this amount. And then, like, I start watching the spring game and then listening to the coaches and then watching highlight clips and listening to the players talk. And then, like, the week 1, I'm like, oh, we're going to win every game. I get all pumped up and psyched out, and I forget my list. So I'm trying to stick to it and trying to stick to my original thoughts and not so much let the emotions pick the scores for me. I understand.
Okay.
Where you're coming from.
Totally understand you as well. That's a recurring theme every season. So
yeah, it happens all the time. But I promise myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my plan.
Awesome. All right. So I'll go there. We may beat Northern Illinois by a little more than that. So
okay.
All right. So that gets us through week 4 and heading into week 5. Who do the Gators have?
We are back on the road again, and we are at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to Stark Vegas. Dan Mullen's old team. It's going to be crazy. I bet they're going to be so pumped and excited to play us, and I understand. Whenever you lose a coach and you see them again, you want to beat them even more than normal. We don't really have a rival with Mississippi State, but we might be starting one, And I understand it's going to be tough. It's going to be loud, noisy. It's another one of those toss-up games. They have a great quarterback in Fitzgerald, and he's returning. And I hate to say it, but I think this is our first loss. First loss of the season. Just traditionally, we do not do well on the SEC road West games.
Yeah.
And if they start at noon, we are definitely doomed because, it's 11 in our minds, but noon to them. And it's just we never played that well at noon on the road. It's just, I don't know, just traditionally we haven't, and I don't feel good about this game. And I hope I'm wrong, but I think they are going to win, I say 24-17. Okay. I think just mainly because they're going to be so juiced and excited to play us and play their old coach.
Yep, I understand. I think most people agree with that. There are definitely some ways the Gators can win. But the atmosphere, the cowbells, the quarterback play, some of the other familiarity with the coaching staff, it all factors in absolutely. So
yeah, now if we do go to Tennessee and perform well, I think that might give us a boost and more confidence going into this game. But just right now at this point, I don't see us taking that game. I'm a lot better at picking week to week as opposed to the whole season. But just looking on paper and looking who's returning, I'm going to take Mississippi State.
All right. So week 5, Florida State goes back on the road, so we're traveling also. This time to Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to face the Cardinals and no Lamar Jackson.
Yes, that's very important.
That's way in our benefit. Probably the worst loss in school history was 2 years ago at Louisville, 63-20. It was just so embarrassing.
I was shocked.
Couldn't score at all. And I mean, there were people that even
Yeah.
took us to win. And, we lose by 43 points. Just, one of the ones to forget for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Some things in our favor, though. Lamar Jackson being gone. Also, Louisville has their 3rd defensive coordinator in 3 years. So coaching changes are bad, especially when they're happening every single year. I'm not even too confident that Louisville's recruiting the area too well. Cincinnati, the American, probably did a better job this offseason in recruiting. And I'm not joking when I say that. So if you're getting guys around there to go to an American conference, which they're going to be one of the worst in the American this year, that doesn't bode well for the ACC. So step the game up there, please.
Right.
No Lamar Jackson, but the new quarterback is Jawan Puma Pass. That's right, Puma.
Puma Pass?
And his name is Pass, P-A-S-S. That's got to be the coolest name for a quarterback I've seen in a
Wow. Can you imagine if he ended up being like a running back? I can just see so many times they throw it, he's running it and everyone yells, pass. I think he's passing the ball, but really it's very confusing.
Exactly. Yep. So he'll be at the helm here. There's no doubt that Petrino will get the team coached up on offense. Defense has always been the question, even when he was at Arkansas.
Right.
So the wide receiver position seems to be their biggest strength. They have pretty decent special teams and offensive line, which is part of the passing game. But we've had 2 straight losses to Louisville. First time they've got us back-to-back years. And last year was very close. We really should have won. We had which you can chalk up to be a freshman mistake, driving down to score the game winner, and Blackman fumbles. They score and win. So, they start the season in Orlando versus Alabama, and that's just not going to go well.
Okay. Yeah.
The interesting thing about Louisville is they're not scared to schedule these kind of games, which I admire.
Yeah.
So
they actually play with scheduling Alabama. They play the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation, at least preseason. They play Clemson later on.
Right.
So that's insane. And then I think like South Carolina plays Clemson and Georgia, who are 2 and 3.
Yep.
So it's insane that the schedules turn out like that. And I know the numbers might be different by the time they play them, but it's interesting.
Right. You got it. So good observation there. And so the ACC, I'd say overall probably the 3rd best conference this season, and some of that's going to be why, and we're going to have a good test to see how we do in those types of games. The explosive plays for Louisville is what Florida State's going to have to be very, very careful of. And I see we are going to be susceptible to stuff like that. So that might be our weakness starting the year. So let's hope, as we talked about before, those kind of things get ironed out and get taken care of.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this year, revenge tastes very, very good. And we're going to beat them by the same score they beat us, 31-28.
Oh, okay. I like what you did there. I like it. Turning the tables on them. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. What are we, week 6?
Yes, sir.
We are back at the Swamp hosting LSU. This is one of those games due to that hurricane that messed up the home and away. We get them again at home in the Swamp. And they're one of those teams they're a complete enigma. I don't know who they are. From week to week, I just don't know who they are. The last few years, they've been like that. And they're a pretty good team. They start off with, they play Miami the first week, I believe. And they're going to come in and, man, I hate to say it again, I think they win again. I just don't think that we're there yet. Where they are, they're just a bump ahead of us. I say we lose 24-20. It's one of those games that I think it's going to be closer than the Mississippi State game, and I think that we have a really good chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And a really good chance. We have a chance of winning, but I just think that it's not going to be enough. They're real good at those trick plays. They always have the fortunate bounce. If someone fumbles the ball, it's going to go right back into their hands. The trick special teams plays. I just don't think we're going to be there just yet. And I think we're going to be coming off our first loss to Mississippi State. So I think we're going to lose our second game at home to LSU.
All right. Well, I certainly see why you picked that. I'm actually going to take Florida to win that one.
Okay.
I understand the reservation in picking the Gators because of all the reasons you named, but probably the thing that works into their favor is they're erratic. Lose to Troy, beat Florida, kind of deal. But I think talent-wise, I think Florida just wins that, and that doesn't always translate to wins. I understand, and if that were maybe on the road, I take them. But I think that's probably the first one we disagree on. I'm gonna take the Gators to win. LSU just after Saban left, and certainly after Les Miles have gone, just haven't really recovered. And I don't even know that they're really they maybe third in the West, maybe fourth, around there.
Yeah, I would say that probably fourth, but now last year when at least I thought we were the better team going into it, and they ran all over us. Mm-hmm. I just have those flashbacks. I can't get that out of my head. So I could see why someone would pick that, and I can't really argue against it. Other than this is one of those games. There's two games on my schedule that I picked when I first saw the schedule, and I'm sticking to it. Although, man, I wanted to flip on this one so bad. But I have to stick to it. I'm not going to let my emotions lead this time.
I respect that.
I'm going to stick for the LSU winning.
All right. Great pick. And great reasons. You said earlier, like, there were some that were like coin flip games. Is this kind of one you would put in there? Like,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if we won. Probably wouldn't be surprised if we won going away, honestly. But just till I see it, I'm not gonna pick it.
I gotcha. So if I had to, I put I think a total of 4 games in that same category for Florida State. I call them toss-up games, and so I think I put Virginia Tech as one of those. Right. Although I'm a little more comfortable with us winning it now, given some recent developments. Our Week 6 game against Miami, I'm going to put in that same category.
Okay.
When I ranked the games earlier, I put this as the number 3 most important game. Both teams should come into this game undefeated, 5-0.
Okay.
With Miami's history, it doesn't bode well for them, but I know that this last season kind of changes their perspective. But Miami's 5-25 against ranked opponents since 2010.
Wow.
The offensive line is the only area that really needs improvement. Everything else, at least talent-wise, we're equal on the field. They have the best linebacking core in the entire conference, and I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could take one of them. That'd be nice. Shaq Quarterman would be the guy leading them up, and he's a good NFL prospect. Because of their famous, I'm going to say famous, but I think it's kind of silly, turnover chain last year, we know all too well that they had a really good turnover ratio, and that led to good field position, and that leads to better offensive scheming. But, there's a lot of luck that comes into turnovers as well. I keep thinking about it in a story you told me a few years ago. The Florida secondary had this term for wide receivers that hold the ball loosely, the violators.
Yeah.
Walk up and say, hey, you're a violator. And, of course, the guys didn't know what they're talking about. I don't see Miami doing that kind of stuff. It's not like I'm watching game film to see how I can jar the ball loose. It's right. They don't have that kind of, oddly enough, they don't have that kind of swagger that they supposedly do.
I think they always go, violators will be punished. It was their.
That's awesome.
So if you're a violator, we're gonna knock it out of your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's gonna be that's they have a really good defense. And we can say whatever we want about the turnover chain and the rap song that came with it. But they're good. I mean, that was their the backbone was creating those turnovers, and turnovers are so important. Winning that turnover battle is so important.
Yep. Well, and they're not going to have that kind of turnover ratio again this year because it was just abnormally good, and so I think there's going to be some drop off. You know, our forefront on the forefront of our minds for this game is obviously we want to avenge the loss from last season.
Right.
Last year it was the first time we lost since 2009. We had them beat. They only had 337 yards the entire game, and a good chunk of that came on the last drive. Where we really are going to struggle is the staffing changes. We have 9 out of 10 our assistants are brand new, and Georgia lost nobody. Rick can just flat out keep a staff.
You mean Miami?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So, and let's see. Here's some other notes here. Miami leads the series overall 32-30, so it's pretty close. Despite all of the recent wins, they still have an overall series lead. They have a much easier schedule. The Coastal is a much weaker division, so depending on what you look at, Florida State is a top 5 nationwide strength of schedule. Theirs is probably in the 50s somewhere. It's a pretty big drop-off. I put this as a toss-up game. Rick flat out wins in the regular season. Jimbo was 6-1 against Miami all time. I'm taking the Canes to win this one. I'm sorry, guys. Miami gets their first win at home since 2004 against
Florida State. Okay, yep. Gotcha. Wow, yeah, I think I have Miami squeaking this one out too.
Yeah, I had 31-27.
I don't know if I had a score, but 31-27. That's a pretty good one.
Yep.
It's a pretty good score, actually.
Obviously, Noel fans, I want to pick us to win this one, and again, it's a toss-up. You could probably easily talk a lot of people into saying this is the year that we get back on track, but I just don't see it.
Nah, not just yet.
Yep.
That's one of those games where, correct me if I'm wrong, just outside looking in, it looks like the home field advantage, although it's crazy, the away team seems to win more often than they should.
Yes, absolutely.
So the Noles have that going for them, but I think Miami's just as a program a little bit ahead.
Yep. And,
a little bit.
Yes, just one step, one possession, and this could come down to the last second drive we get stopped or...
Yeah, I think just that experience that they have right now gives them just that slight edge.
There you go. I think we agree. Still going to be a close game, but we're going to have to wait till next year probably.
Yeah.
All right, So that's week 6. That gives us our first loss, according to me, and then going into week 7 for the Gators.
All right, we are back on the road, and we play Vanderbilt, a team that always plays us tough. And with Kentucky, we're squeaking out a win or winning by 50. With Vanderbilt, no matter where the program is, we're winning by like 8, 9, 14. Just they always seem to play us tough, especially at Vandy. But I still think that we're going to pull this one out. And I think we're just better up front and a better running game. And say we win 35-19.
Okay.
We might even it's going to be one of those games where we should win by more, but they're going to play us just a little bit tougher than we want.
Okay.
But we should win this game, get back on track.
All right. So I didn't have really any thoughts on that one, except you'll take care of business. Week 7 for us is a bye week, so take some time off. Just a couple of schedule notes. We don't have any Thursday or Friday games this year.
Oh.
So we just have the one Labor Day night game, but generally we play like Boston College, just to kind of get some TV time, things like that.
Right.
Also, of note, I mentioned how hard the schedule is. We don't play like the 2 worst teams in the conference, which would be North Carolina and Virginia. We play the 2 best teams in the Coastal, which is Miami and Virginia Tech.
Oh my.
We also don't play Pitt or Duke, which are arguably like down there toward the bottom-ish. And so, if there's 5 bad teams, we only play one of them in the ACC. So we got the hardest ACC schedule this year.
Yeah.
Crazy phenomenon. So anyway, bye week for week 7 though. So on to week 8 for you.
That is our bye week.
Okay.
So that's interesting. It's back to back.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna need that. It's nice having it like right in the middle of the season.
Okay. Excellent. And I know who your next week is after that, so that makes it
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
We are at home week 8 versus Wake Forest, and we're gonna come out and rebound real nice. You know, we've held them to 6 or less points like 5 times in the last decade. They just never give us trouble, except for what I call the dark ages. In 2006, 07, and 08, we somehow lost 3 in a row to Wake Forest. But
I oddly enough, I call it the bright age. But...
Oh, yeah, well. When Wake Forest, they actually won the ACC one of those years. That's just unacceptable, guys. That just can't happen. Well, another weird note, Riley Skinner was the quarterback at Wake Forest. Why do I know that? Because he went 3-0 against the Noles, and he would have been the first quarterback to go 4-0. Not Danny Werfel, not any other major quarterback. It would have been Wake Forest. So no, guys, no. This is... This has been a decade where we just put that back in balance.
Okay.
The only weapon for Wake Forest is Greg Dortch, and he gets a lot of numbers. Yeah,
that's a great name.
Dortch.
That is such a football name. I love it.
But he's really all they've got. The rest of the team can't beat you. Expect 3 or 4 big plays, maybe from him or the whole team, and maybe some flashes. But there's not going to be a whole lot to this. They're a 7-win team. I mean, they used to lose to teams like Louisiana Monroe, so there's not a lot of worry here. Get your third stringer some action, and 48-10, Florida State rolls.
48-10. Okay. Good. Get back on track, I see.
Absolutely.
We have our bye week before week 9, and that is because we play Georgia in Jacksonville. And we've been going to this for quite some time now where we schedule our bye before Georgia. And it's important because we know that if we want to do anything in the SEC, especially the East, Georgia game is crucial. And it's a important game. I had it as my number one most important game, mainly because the runners-up in the national championship, the East goes through them. They almost beat Alabama, and they whooped us last year. They just whooped us. This is where we started to give up, was during this game.
Wow. And
it was tough to watch. It really was. And you could just see it play out that, yeah, they were a great team, a superior team, but we had no interest being in that game.
Wow.
And I think we're definitely going to have an interest this year. So I'm excited about it, and I think we're going to close that gap a little bit, but not enough to win. We have our third loss, I say 35-20. They just stomped us last year, and I still think they win, by a couple touchdowns. I don't think we're really gonna threaten them, but the gap's gonna be a little bit closer than it was last year. But really, any gap's gonna be closer than last year, to be honest.
Okay.
But it's gonna be closer.
Okay. All right. Now, how about that? So we all know about Georgia's success. I don't feel like there's any need to harp on that, but you play your number one most important game of the year the same week we do, because week 9 we're hosting Clemson.
Ooh.
Well, we have a lot to talk about that week for sure.
Yeah, no joke.
That was our number one most important game of the season. We've lost them 3 years in a row. Best team in the conference, arguably the nation. They get Kelly Bryant back. He's going to be starting, and they have the best quarterback in the nation sitting right behind him. He might even play next year. Best defensive line, I'm going to say. Some people put him at number 2. These guys are NFL talent, all 4 of them.
Yeah.
They're just tackles for loss is just what they do.
Don't they have 2 guys on the D line that are like All-Americans first team?
Yeah, I think
so.
2.
Or at least someone had them as.
Yeah.
All,
Probably Wilkins is the guy with the most attention, but all 4 of them, they could have gone to the NFL. I'm surprised it didn't. And if that weren't enough, they have great running backs in Feaster, and I think it's pronounced Etienne.
Okay.
They got 600 yards of offense 3 times last year, and they held 7 teams to 260 yards or less from their defense. I mean, they stifle. They've got every aspect of the game mastered, and they've got all the talent to go with it. I guess the only thing that was shocking to me is their kicker was 9 of 14 last year. So that's a pretty bad percentage.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really no gap in their game. And I don't think Clemson has any trouble beating us, even at home. I'm going to take Clemson by 10, 30-20.
Okay. And you said this was in Tallahassee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's going to be a crazy game.
Yep. They're just going to suffocate everything. They're going to get up in the offensive line. Even the offensive line has a lot of returning starts. I feel like we're going to have one of the strengths in the team there. That we're just not going to be able to get anything moving.
All right.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That's going to might potentially be a really rough weekend for us.
Indeed. Well, there'll be some excitement, like, hey, we might both talk ourselves in, we could do this, and then afterwards, I don't know. That just didn't
what
work.
were we thinking?
Exactly. So, let's see how the Gators in a rebound in Week 10 for you.
Week 10, we go back home to the Swamp, and we play Missouri. Missouri was another one of those games. It was at Missouri last year where you could just see that we had given up, and it was embarrassing. Like, at least to Georgia, like, okay, they're a good team. Missouri went 7-6 last year, and we just looked awful on the road. We were trying to do different quarterbacks and everything, and it's just we didn't want to be there.
Wow.
So it's a nice time to rebound, and I think we're gonna get another win. I think we're gonna win walking away. This is a team that likes to pass traditionally, but I think one of our strengths is our secondary.
Yep.
So I don't really see. I think we're going to be upset about the loss to Georgia, get back in the Swamp, and I think we're going to win this game and get another W for us. I say 40-21.
Oh, very comfortably winning. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident about this game.
Yeah, you're right about the passing. Drew Lock what do you have, 46 touchdowns last year or something ridiculous, and yeah. So, okay. Get a little East win. That would be nice. I kind of had that one as a toss-up. I certainly didn't have Florida winning by that much, but given what's coming off of the Georgia week, I can understand where you'd want to kind of put it on them.
Yeah, I don't see us giving up this one.
Okay. All right, very good. So Week 10, we're getting into the really thick part of Florida State's schedule here.
They got that back half is rough.
Yes, it is. We are traveling to NC State. And if you're looking at, where is Florida State going to finish by the end of the year as far as the ACC goes? This game, to me, will tell you right away. We're going to finish second in the division or we're going to finish third. Clemson's going to win, obviously. So I've talked a lot about how we've went 12-8 over the last 20 years against the Wolfpack. All 8 of those losses were upsets. We were not favored to have any trouble with them. NC State has the best passing game in the conference. Finley is a great quarterback. Harmon and the other wide receiving core round out what will be a very, very efficient passing game. And their holes will probably be on defense. Certainly not on the offensive line or anything like that. NC State will probably be that borderline, like, ranked team all year, like N25, drop out when they lose, back up when they win kind of team.
Right.
The middle of the pack, pun intended for the ACC, is...
I didn't even catch... If you didn't say that, I wouldn't have caught on. So I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Can teams like NC State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, can they start to eliminate these dumb losses like Wake Forest or East Carolina or North Carolina or Syracuse? We kind of need some stability there from the ACC. The Wolfpack play West Virginia like early in the year, like week 2 or 3. That would look good. To kind of go a loss there, but anyway, NC State's schedule, they kind of threw their conference games as their last 8 in a row, so they're going to be kind of in the thick of their schedule as well. They have a very good turnover ratio from last year. They did have 7 guys go to the NFL, including Chubb, defensive end. Somehow they have a mental edge on us. This will be their first home game in a month. Sorry, Knowles, I'm taking NC State to win, 30-27.
I don't think that's crazy.
I like their passing game, and I think coaching-wise, we just have games like this. When you're playing conference, it's like a family reunion. They know all your weaknesses, and I don't think it's going to be any different here. This one, to me, was another toss-up game, and I would say most people would probably pick us to win, and I get it. I, however, have my doubts, and so I'm taking the Wolfpack by 3.
I can see that coming off of that huge game against Clemson. I can kind of see that road game against a team that always plays you tough.
Yep.
I can see them losing that game. I really can. I don't think it's a crazy pick.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's gonna be a heartbreaker when it happens. But anyway, so that finishes Week 10 for us. Going into Week 11 for the Gators. Who you got?
All right, our last regular season SEC game, and I say that hoping that we get to the championship game, but sure. Let's be real. Our last SEC game, it is at home against South Carolina. Now, this game last year, we fought hard in that game at South Carolina. Coming off 2 embarrassing losses, we actually showed some heart. A couple of plays we were unlucky, didn't go our way. Like, we picked off a pass at, say, the 50-yard line, ran it all the way back and fumbled it into the end zone. They pick up the ball and run it out for a first down.
I remember that now. That was weird. Yeah.
That summed up our whole season, man. That one play. And so we played hard. We just couldn't get the win. They ended up having like a 9-4 record last year. South Carolina did. Muschamps got them rolling. And I just we're back at the swamp, and this is one of those toss-up games, but this is one I think we lose again. And I say we lose 21-20. I say we miss a field goal to win the game with one of our new kickers. And it's one of those, like, this one I really wanted to flip too. I really want to flip this game to a win. But I think they're just a little bit more comfortable with their coaching staff, their offense. They got a good quarterback in Bentley. I think Sanders or Samuels, the receiver, comes back. I think it's just going to be just too much. And that defense, Muschamp's going to be getting them rolling to slow us down. And, man, I really want to pick us to win this game, but I think we lose just by 1 point to South Carolina.
I actually completely agree with that. And this was probably in the toss-up area, but I have a little more confidence that it might not be quite that close. Like, out of the toss-up games I saw for the Gators, I'm like, that's a little more chance that, like, South Carolina is probably the least likely to lose. But like you said, there are certain ways to do it. If there's any way you can get past Muschamp's defense, then 28 wins the game for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, good.
Yeah, I know. It'll be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one, man.
Totally understand. Well, it gets even worse for Florida State here. Here we go, guys. Week 11, we are at Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Traveling up to South Bend. It's going to be cold. Wear your long sleeve Under Armour. Notre Dame has a very tough defense returning. They got the benefit of a really good schedule. Even though they play a lot of ranked teams, they only have 4 true road games, one of which is Wake Forest, and another which is Northwestern. And they have 2 neutral site games. One, they play Syracuse in New York, which they're going to win. And they play Navy in San Diego. I'm not sure why they did that.
That's a very odd place to play that game.
Those 2 teams have to travel far for that one.
Yeah.
2014 was the last time we played Notre Dame, and that was a really close one. That was Jameis Winston's last year, and it came down to a penalty in the end zone that kept Notre Dame from scoring the game winner.
Yeah. But your Notre Dame transfer at quarterback played out a little bit better than ours did.
Oh,
with Zaire, yeah.
Well, by the end of the season, Golson wasn't really playing that much more. So, it worked out better, but it wasn't great. Their quarterback play is going to drop off. In fact, they had a really good Wimbush was playing fantastic until the last month of the year, and he just nosedove. It was a terrible November for him, but they did rebound to win their bowl game because they replaced him. So that, on top of their great linebackers, their offensive line, their secondary, and the fact that they're usually the victim of close losses, and they have 15 returning starters, they get it done at home. This will probably be the closest game that I have on as the toss-up. Notre Dame by 2, 31-29.
Okay. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. That really is. Just with the history of both teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. Yeah, I think you're right. Notre Dame, I have them. I think by like 4.
Okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be close. Regardless, it's gonna be close.
Yep. Any team that is gonna have the strength to neutralize our offense, that's where they're gonna be able to beat us. And I think every team except NC State has that. NC State will beat us for different reasons. But yeah, if you're counting, that's 3 straight losses for the Noles, in my opinion. So you start off 6-1 and then loss.
Yeah.
It's a tough stretch, man.
Yeah.
It's a hard November. So anyway, that gets us to week 12.
All right, we are back home at the Swamp, and we have a little bit of a break. We play Idaho. The Vandals are going to come in here, and I think we're going to handle business. This is one of those games where I actually wish it was on the road because they have a pretty cool stadium. It looks like a big, like
carport,
airplane hangar. Yeah, like a big barn. So I kind of wish we were playing there just to say we did. But no, we're hosting them, and I think we should get back on track and handle them 52-10. I think we're really just gonna a warm up for Florida State.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it. The Vandals.
Yeah.
Week 12, we go back home and we play the Boston College Eagles.
Okay.
For some reason, since Boston College joined the ACC, it's been full of senseless losses for us, including last year. We lose 35-3. I mean, arguably one of the worst losses in program history as far as conference play goes. It was so bad. This was the game for us that we said, okay, something's going on with the staff and the players. That's a team that we should not have lost to, and there's no excuse to lose that badly. If you're not an ACC fan, remember the name A.J. Dillon. He's the running back for Boston College, and they have a habit of getting a 2,000-yard rusher. It's happened before. It's going to probably happen again this year. They have little to no passing presence at all, and this is going to be a quick game because we're both going to run the ball a whole lot. We'll probably rush 45 to 50 times a game is my guess.
Okay.
They have their offensive line and running backs returning, so they can run the ball and just pound it. Everything else is just porous and terrible. Their defense overall isn't bad because they have Steve Adazio, who's always been defensively minded somewhat, but the offense is finally clicking for him. So I think that's good enough to get them probably a bowl contention, 6 or 7 wins.
Okay.
Their kicking game also terrible, like 12 of 20. So that just tends to hurt, and it changes your play calling. But Florida State gets revenge. We get it done, 41-28. Noles win at home.
Okay. Pretty decent gap there. Okay. Good. We have a little bit easier game before the final one than y'all do.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a conference game right before us is tough.
Yep. All right, Chris. Well, it comes down to this. This is how our friendship started. This is why we do the show. Florida State plays Florida. I'll let you go first. What you got?
This is going to be such a different game than any Florida State game we've had before. Just because the offenses are going to be so new, so different. The philosophy, especially for Florida State, is going to be different. At least for Florida, we're kind of familiar with the spread. But for both to have them, both to have the season we had last year that we're trying to forget about, it's going to be a fun game at Florida State. I think Florida State is just going to be a little bit ahead, and they're going to have the home advantage. I think they will squeak it out 35-31. And man, I hope I'm wrong, but I think they're going to be a little bit ahead of us. And I think the only thing that I think that we might have going for us is that you're going to go through a gauntlet right before you go to us.
Right.
And we might have some recovery time against Idaho, and I think that's going to play to our advantage. I do like our D. I do like our depth, especially on the line. and our corners, but I just don't know who our quarterback is going to be and if they can handle Florida State, probably at night, and that pass rush. I just don't think that's going to be enough for us to win.
Okay, very fair assessment. Our defense has taken care of business in this game the last several years, but it won't be as easy this time. There's not going to be this holding you to 7 points or 13. You mentioned a pretty high scoring, and I kind of see that happening. There's other factors like the exhaustion. Boston College is a very physical team, so just that one game alone, having to come off of it 7 days later, this is likely a game where neither team's playing in their conference title game the following week. I think you and I both agree with that.
Right.
I actually think it's going to be a great kicking matchup, as silly as that sounds. I think there's going to be a lot of that where you're going to stall a lot of drives. That's going to be a problem for us all season anyway. Recruiting is obviously a key part of this, and I think a lot of that's still pretty balanced, but it'll probably start to swing in Florida State's favor by the end of the year is my thought.
Okay.
And obviously the strength for the Gators with the offensive line and then your defensive line. I mean, the secondary has always been great, and it's probably the best in the SEC, maybe to Alabama second, I don't know. But yes, I am very glad this one's at home for sure. But I'm going to see a lot of fire coming back into this game where you'd be like, they're going to be evenly matched. These guys are going to start to know each other because they'll be recruiting again. And I agree. I think Florida State makes it 6 in a row. 26-23, though. A little lower scoring than we would have thought.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're probably right on the score, but I still think Florida State, if it's at Gainesville, I might be picking the Gators. I really do. I really do think I would, but I think that that atmosphere is going to be just too much for our quarterback, whoever it is.
All right. Very, very good. Well, how many losses then are you projecting?
We are 7-5.
7-5. Okay.
4-4 in the SEC.
All right. I have Florida State as 8-4 overall.
That's where I had them.
Okay. 5-3 in the conference. So one of those is Notre Dame.
Okay.
But yeah, that puts us probably third in the Atlantic. And I know that a lot of people are going to. I'm seeing a range here. Like worst case scenario, doomsday Noles are like 6-6. That's all we're going to do. No, right. I think we're better than that. I also know that we're not 11-1. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think most people are going to go around that 8 to 9 win range. And I can definitely see the 9. If we do some things right in Raleigh, we win NC State, that puts us 9-3. I think most people can agree that's the threshold you want to push past between 8 and 9 wins. But we're not quite there yet. The talent is there, but the coaching isn't. And so, next year, get the ACC.
A lot of people are doing the same for Florida. They're saying 8-4, 9-3. I'm hearing those two numbers. I think the floor is 7-5, and I'm just who I am. I'm very cautious. I think the ceiling though, 10 wins. I don't think we can get more than that. It can go a lot of. There's a lot of close games. Like I mentioned, South Carolina coin toss, Tennessee coin toss, even LSU coin toss, even Florida State. It's a coin toss.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of agree. That one's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I think last year's Florida State game was a glorified pillow fight, and Florida State just happened to have a bigger pillow. This year, we're both going to bring swords, but do we know how to use swords? It could go either way. And like I said, week to week, I have a better idea, and I'm better at picking week to week. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's I would love an 8-4. I would love a 9-3. But I'm just trying to go from my original assessment of the schedule and the team, and I think we're 7-5. And I hope at the end of the season, people come up to me, man, you were wrong because we won 10 games. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong.
Thank God.
But that's just what I'm going with right now.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So if for us, I'm putting the Florida game, NC State, Miami, Virginia Tech. We go 2-2 in those toss-up games. I'm putting Clemson, Notre Dame as automatic losses.
Yeah.
And, I mean, who knows? Notre Dame has kind of been up and down. So if they drop off, that could be an easier game than we thought. We'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right. Well, I think that is very fair assessment of both of our parts, and obviously I hope I'm wrong as well, and you just win them all, There's national champs.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Love if we did that.
So as we promised, we'll take a few minutes to go around the state of Florida and see what some other programs are going to look like this year. Chris, I'll default to you. I think you had a couple of teams you wanted to just kind of give a quick season recap to.
Yeah, since I'm closer to Miami and follow them a little bit closer, I'm looking at the Miami schedule, and they've got some tough ones. And they had a great season last year, came out of nowhere, surprised everybody, especially led by their defense and the chain of turnovers. But I think they take a slight step back this year. They go 9-3, which is still pretty good, still really good. Mm-hmm. But I think that they were like a season too soon last year, and so I think the ceiling's a little bit too high, and I think the expectations are going to be even higher. But I think they take a step a little bit back. Key games to look at: they open against LSU. Mm-hmm. I believe that's in Dallas. I could be wrong.
That's right.
It's in and then they play at Virginia Tech. That Florida State game is going to be a tough one. They're going to Boston College. They go to Georgia Tech. That last year was a slugfest. So there's some games you have to keep an eye on for them. And I think they take a step back just a little bit and go 9-3.
Okay. Yeah, I think 9 or 10 wins is pretty fair. I mean, their schedule is just so easy. And I don't see any reason why they don't win the Coastal Division. Even if they slip a couple of games, they have a little bit of leeway there.
Yeah, I see. Well, a lot of times when you have a team that kind of maybe gets a little bit too lucky, or they have a lot of luck games, mm-hmm. next year, usually the luck runs out. And I think those close games are probably gonna lose more often than not.
Sure.
But they have a lot of games that they should win comfortably. So that's why 9-3 is what I got them.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
I'll go with I'll do a recap real quickly. South Florida, the Bulls.
Yeah.
They play Georgia Tech week 2. That'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. They also play Illinois in Chicago. So that's just not an interesting game at all.
Yeah.
Wow. I do like Charlie Strong, though. It's his second year for the Bulls, and he's got a lot of catching up to do. Quentin Flowers, his quarterback, who was basically a glorified running back last year, almost passed never, still had a lot of their offense. And so they still ran the ball quite a bit. And they were probably top 30 overall in stats, but just passing. They didn't care to throw. They would always run.
Right.
But, they kind of got overshadowed. I mean, they lost a squeaker to Houston, and then, of course, the Central Florida game, which decided that division. Those are only 2 losses the entire year. If one play goes differently in both of those games, they actually have an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, and they should have. I don't say should have, but they were looking like they're going to win that UCF game.
Right.
And then they go back and return that kick for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was what decided it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then on Houston loss, Houston converted a 4th and 24, and you're like, what? And then they ended up winning the game very, very late. So, that's a very close, and their schedule wasn't all that great. We know that, but neither was UCF's either, but they still won them all. So, the wide receivers and the defense of South Florida will be their strength this year, but probably 8 wins. The schedule kind of helps out. They play Temple. They play Elon. I don't even know who that is. Division 2. So,
isn't he the guy who owns SpaceX?
Oh, Elon.
Is that him? They play him. They play him and his astronauts.
He has a university. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where he gets his money from. I don't know.
So yeah.
I love that long pause of you trying to figure out where I was going with that.
Second.
That was great.
That's what I love about us. So yeah, best of luck to the Bulls and Charlie Strong. I think 8 wins is good, but they're not going to be able to get past the likes of UCF, and they got too much ground to cover.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna take a look at FAU, the Fighting Lane Kiffins.
Yep.
Yeah, and he loves to run his mouth and doesn't stop. But I'll give him credit. People know him. They know the program, and now they know the program because they're winning games. And they have a couple interesting games on their schedule. I got them 9-3, and they open versus Oklahoma. I believe it's at Oklahoma. I don't think it's a neutral site, but then they play later on. They play at UCF.
Yes, sir.
And so the first month they got some pretty tough games, but then they have the old dominions of the world to play. So I have them 9-3, just making some noise. Decent bowl game for them.
Okay. Yeah, I think the UCF game, it's on a Friday night at the end of September. So by that point in the year, I'm actually talking about UCF now. So that was my next team, Central Florida Knights. Okay. You talk about that game. Clearly, the conference that FAU plays in is just so much weaker. If you take about the group of 5, the American has the best squads, and FAU is just down near the bottom. But they're the best team in that conference. No one give them. No one sell them short there. UCF comes off the undefeated season. There's going to be some drop off here. When they had such good turnovers, they had the number 1 scoring offense in the nation. You lose some guys. They actually lost one of their key defensive players to Nebraska. He transferred with Scott Frost. But you talk about their 3 offensive weapons. You've got Mackenzie Milton, obviously. He, by the way, out of high school, his recruit number was 1,161.
Whoa.
Nobody wanted him.
Wow.
And now he's in talk for sneaky Heisman pick if he gets enough numbers and they win a lot. He's not going to. He's going to be a top 10 finalist, something like that. He finished 8th last year.
I didn't realize that high. Okay.
Yep. So UCF's favored to win the division, and I think most people are favoring him to win the conference. They could have made a statement by hiring a bigger coach than Josh Heupel, but I think they kind of said, we're only going to hire national championship winning quarterbacks from now on. And so Chris Leak might get a call in a few years to go out there and coach the UCF Knights.
Why not?
UCF has about the 80th strongest schedule, according to most, and so not a whole lot of tough competition. Memphis is probably their biggest game this year. It's on the road. And they kept their running back and their coach, Norvell. He surprisingly didn't get hired away by a Power 5 school. So,
I thought he was going to.
Yeah. So Milton needs to feed Killens, that's the running back, and Snelson, the wide receiver. They're going to get tons of yards this year. There's going to be some drop-off, like I said. So I'm taking them to be 9-3 to win their division, but they're going to see Memphis, if that's the case, for the 4th time in 2 years, even though they're on opposite sides. And I actually think Memphis is going to win the American this season. A close game, but 4th time's a charm for the Tigers. They're going to get them.
Okay.
So 9-4, win the division, and then go to a good bowl.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, well, so wrap it up with FIU. And not really much to say about them. They didn't have a good season last year. I don't think they're going to have a good season this year. I have 6-6. They might squeak out a bowl or something. But notable games, they start off the year hosting Indiana. So I think that game might actually be closer than the experts think. Then later on they travel to Miami. They play at Miami, and then later on you'll see them playing FAU, a big interstate battle there.
Okay.
I think they host FAU, so I think that game they might be able to possibly squeak out too. But that's nothing too exciting to go with them.
Yep.
I think 6-6 maybe bowl game is the ceiling for them.
Fair. Okay. All right, Panthers get it done. Yeah, it's not bad for the state of Florida and recruiting to see those lower programs get a little action.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that was a great recap of mostly, and we know Florida State and Florida, that's the focus of the show. But for any other fans of the other schools, we appreciate the listen and the feedback. So all the best. These kinds of things help the entire state, including the quote Power 3.
Yeah.
But success on these levels are what made the programs what they are. So
yeah.
Here's to that improvement there.
Yeah, I would really like to go back after the season and listen to this and see where we got it right.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
where we got it wrong. That'd be real fun to do because I bet I'm just gonna look at me like you were an idiot so many times. What were you thinking?
Well, and we're certainly not experts on this. We've been fans of our teams for a long time, so some of this is fan intuition.
Yeah,
that's a lot of it, but
still fun.
Absolutely, and because we followed it so long, we know these tendencies, and we can call stuff that no one else would even think of and be right. So that's the hope, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, it was fantastic. As you mentioned, we have fans out there that are listening, and they have their own list, and they have their ideas of what the win-loss record will be. So can you remind the fans, Chris, how they can get in touch with us to do that?
Many ways. We would love, like I said, please let us know what your thoughts are on the records, and even if you have time, throw in a score there to see what you think it's going to end up. To reach us, hit us up on the website, floridafocuspodcast.libsyn.com, Libsyn, Libsyn, Facebook and YouTube, Florida Focus Podcast. A lot of activity on Facebook, so continue that up. Twitter, @Florida Focus Pod. And please feel free to email us, floridafocuspodcast@yahoo.com. We also have a Snapchat, FL Focus Pod, and of course our Patreon.
Excellent. Well, it's been a great year so far. I feel like this was probably the episode that got the most work and most attention. And like you said, I'm anxious to go listen to this again in December, see how close or far off we were. But we appreciate the fans and the support so far. Remember, the best way if you want to be on the show, we take questions. You can send us a voice memo to that email address, floridafocuspodcast@yahoo.com. We'd love to get your feedback. But yeah, this will begin our new format. We're going to get some real-time reactions to the games. We're going to do game recaps and then project the game that's coming up. So just a quick note on when you can expect content from us. We're going to do everything we can to get this out to you as quickly as possible. So check and subscribe. If you haven't done already, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And when you subscribe, you can expect something from us once a week through the whole season. And we'll hope to get that out Monday, Tuesday, the latest to you guys. This first week will be Tuesday for sure because we'll want to include the Florida State game as well.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. So any last thoughts before we sign off and get the season finally started, Chris?
No, I really can't believe I'm in a state of disbelief and excitement at the same time that football is finally back, college football is finally back, and me personally, Gator football is finally back.
It's here. So best of luck to all the teams out there, all the fans that listen. Thank you again. From Brandon, I want to say go Seminoles.
And go Gators.